4, 5. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the world. Welcome back to our show. Hum Aap aur Hum Ye GUFTAGU. So today's host for the show is Mr. Rajnish Babbar. Rajnish ji, welcome to the show and warm welcome and good morning.
Thank you. Glad to
So
be here.
thank you very much, Rajnish ji. So to the team, to the Zina family, Rajnish ji is from US, from Georgia. So he's live from Georgia. So that's very good to see that with his busy schedule, Rajnish ji has agreed to talk with us and share his views and share his experiences and few things what we go with the Hum Aur Aap GUFTAGU show. So thank you, Rajiv Bhaiya, for bringing a nice host to the show. And to the Zina family, just a brief introduction to Rajnish ji. So I would like to introduce him towards education and then later a little bit on his experience. Coming back to overall with the show, Rajnish ji, we will start with your introduction. Then slowly we will talk about your life's journey. That is what we want to have open heart-to-heart talk, and then discuss a little bit about childhood education and further to your present stay in US and followed by some impromptus in between. So that's the gist. So coming back, Rajnish Babarji is basically from India. Actually, before the show, I came to know that Rajnish Chika parents were in army. So basically, I would be happy to say that Rajnish ji is our India's child, and he has been all over India when his father, who is in military, was working for our country or serving for our country. Thank you, Rajnish ji. Thanks to your family and parents. And his education, I will just give a brief update on little bit on higher education. Rajnish ji finished his Kendriya Vidyalaya in Dehradun, Kendriya Vidyalaya FRI, Dehradun in India. Followed with that, Rajnish ji has BE Civil Engineering. It's completed, graduated in 1988 from Birla Institute of Technology, Pilani, BITS Pilani. So that's, we can say, BITSician. That's what we call. And then followed by his move to US. So he pursued his MS in computer engineering, and then he graduated in 1991, one of the famous university in US, Syracuse University. It's in New York, right? If I'm correct. Syracuse
Syracuse
is
is in
New
New
York.
York State,
New
yes.
York. Yeah. That's about his education. Almost, I was in high school in 1991, where Rajnish ji was completed his master's education. So leaving the education credentials and coming on to work experiences, there I could see versatile profile and versatile leadership activities Rajnish ji has done over 2 to 3 decades in US. He started in 1995 as a member of technical staff in Siemens, and then followed with few of the IT industries, Cisco as a line manager, and then ADC, and followed in around 2002, he became director of business development for Red Wave Networks, followed by vice president of sales in Terayan Communications. And recently, I could say that presently, he's a non-executive director for Complinity Technologies in Atlanta area. So leaving that, there is one more decade of experience where he was a chief executive officer for Finis Media Services. What I could see from his profile, over past a decade, Rajnish ji started with IT, but in the past decade, he was leading several media services companies in terms of IT, localization, management, and outsourcing areas. And he was a general manager and VP for SDI Media, chief CEO for Engine Media Services, and vice president for worldwide sales, Wagoner Communications over a decade. So an industry we spoke about few experts in data and artificial intelligence a few days back, but now we have a media expert in terms of media and IT. Rajnish ji, warm welcome to the show.
Thank
We
you.
are glad to have you. So
Thank you.
hope I didn't miss something out of your credentials.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
It's been a strange journey in some ways, basically starting from one field of engineering, moving to another one, then moving to something else.
Yeah.
Goes to show that we can adapt. We can do
Yes.
different things when we feel like we have been challenged to do something different.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So as part of humans and evolution, without adaptation, we will not survive or we will not succeed.
Yes.
Evolution, evolution is a trait that we need to move forward and be a successful survival of the fittest. That's the rule. We have to go into that. So Rajnish ji, could you please explain where are you currently located and uh, little bit about your locality in current US?
So I live in a city called Johns Creek, which is a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. It's in the northeast of the city when you actually look at the map. And from if you were to follow and you were to Google Johns Creek, just I think last week or 10 days ago, it was rated as the #1 city in the United States to live in because it's very little crime. It's quite beautiful. It's also managed well. So we are very, very lucky to live here. It's a very diverse city as well. It has a good mix of people from various parts of the world, a lot of people from India, China, Korea, as well as the locals in terms of the Black and white populations. So we feel like we are a microcosm of sort of the cities which are being built in the US going forward because of diversity that comes in. So yeah, it's a really nice place to live.
Very nice to hear. That's great, amazing to be #1 city to live in US is always a wonder to see, a beautiful country with beautiful people. Diversity is the core of US and giving the immigration and all. So very nice to hear. So Rajnish ji, just as you know, we will talk about the show as I introduced. As we spoke, the Army's child, so India's child. So could you please explain a little bit about your childhood and a little bit in few moments what you loved it about and what you really pros and cons? I don't think so there are any cons, but could you please explain about your childhood?
Yeah, it was one of those sort of middle-class family upbringings that most of us have had. I think that it was very natural for us to pack up our bags every 3 years and move because that's what my dad was supposed to do. He would be in any given place for 3 years. So I became part of the central school system, the Kendriya Vidyalaya system, because the books were the same and you could go from one place to another and it was easy to transition. I would say that my fondest memories of India is really having this sort of shielded, carefree world that we lived in, because we lived in a lot of times the colonies, basically, because we had a lot of friends nearby, would play with them outside. It was a very secure environment.
Yes.
And on top of that, I think the education was, as I look back, top notch. I mean, I think it's incredible when you think about India as a country and you look at the way, and I'm just biased maybe in terms of the central school education, but the books and the material and the coverage, it just prepared me well for the future. As I went to engineering school after that. So my childhood was actually difficult in the beginning. It was not easy. Obviously, middle-class families struggle in India. It was tight in terms of money and things like that. But my parents did the best. They didn't let us feel that we were wanting or needing anything.
Yes.
But a lot of character building, a lot of the foundation of education all came from India. So I'm grateful for what I was able to receive from the country as well as the system that was there. And then finally on to college, when I went to Pilani, I was again very fortunate to go to a very big
Prestigious
engineering school. I
yeah.
was able to get this. So I have a son. We are going through some campus tours, and one thing is very interesting when you go there. They always talk about this first 2 years being very generic. All
Okay.
kinds of disciplines. You have to have certain elective courses that you have to do. It doesn't have to be related to your coursework. And that's what we did. We were
Yes.
following the MIT system
Yes.
of education at
Education.
Pilani. So again, this broad-based education, as we called it, is so helpful. Like you read through my profile, and there's so much that I have done outside of what my initial training was, even in college. And it all goes back to that,
Foundation
training or a
what
foundation that was built back then. Right.
yes. Very good, very good. So Rajnish
Yeah.
ji, that's very good point. आप बोल रहे थे कि you were in a community of these quarters, and then there was thing, and I vividly remember that in my hometown we were in a community where we were business people and relatives, and then neighbors were there for my street. So I was having a house kind of environment, but we were discussing or dealing with my neighbors. But why I'm saying this is that your situation given in the military quarters is completely different for me, because I went to some of my friends. वो लोग पुलिस क्वार्टर्स में थे, उसका पापा पुलिस में काम कर रहे थे. So I just want to give a comparison. Like now the people call now it as a Gen Z generation, like gated community. I'm in a gated community, big buildings, this and that, so many amenities. Forget about that. We had 4 decades back gated communities. We had the families of corporate people in terms of government sector. Government has built their own quarters to them, and I had seen the contrast. Like we are all business people, and parents' mindset is different, right? When I go and meet and play with my friend, I was entering to the community gated, all looking alike buildings, and everyone is this is sub inspector, this and that, that is DIG, this and that, and suddenly everyone will come out and keep playing and keep discussing. And one thing I could see is that the discussions they do in terms of housewives or employees, if women are employed also, the discussions were bit mature in terms of, oh, मेरे बच्चा को क्या करना है, how he is doing now, in which studies he is good at, sports में अच्छा है तो उन लोग को पुलिस का चीज में तो ना, स्पोर्ट्स में अच्छा है तो बाय डिफॉल्ट स्पोर्ट्स का जॉब रेडी है, पर्सनालिटी अच्छा है, हाइट है, फिजिक है, इफ इज इंटरेस्टेड, एकदम लाइन हो गया डिस्कशन का, करियर का. Oh, that was very amazing to see to me, that how a community can come together and they will have fun in terms of pujas, community games, and all those. I'm just saying that to the current generation, like, don't think that we have not seen the world. We have been.
Oh, yeah. No, I
we
mean,
have
you're
been.
right, because I know that, for example, one of my batchmates is in Tata Steel. And
Okay.
when you go to the factories that they build, they have also
Yes.
built the housing for people, right? And
Yes.
all that
Yes.
is like a gated community, because it's
Mm.
your co-workers living with you, so you know them.
Yes.
The kids
Yes.
are okay when they're out playing, so you're less worried about things, right? So yeah, these days, of course, when you're building these apartment complexes, then condominium complexes, right?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think then most of the people are now beginning to see the value of that. But for
Yeah.
us, we had it available to us when we were growing up, actually.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Even the personalities of my friends, like I could see on a personality development, like they are in kind of different qualities they will bring up. Specifically, they are a little bit open-minded, and it's like outspoken, easily outgoing personalities. Like that is very good to see that point. That's very good,
right.
Rajnish ji. So basically, आप पूरा India में you have been traveling around, and as uh, you said your family was settled in Dehradun finally.
Right, that's
That's
correct. Yes.
okay.
That's when my dad decided to buy a plot. Then we built
Very good.
a house. I remember living in it very briefly before I went to Pilani. but
Pilani.
that became then de facto the home, because when you're moving around, you never feel like you belong to that place.
Belong to
Like you
one
said, I
place.
belong to India, but not to a
Yeah.
particular place in India. But then I
Yes.
felt like I belonged to Dehradun. So even now, when
Okay.
people ask me, I always end up saying I'm from Dehradun, just because that's where my dad's home was.
Yes.
So it's
Very
very
good.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes. It's very good. So coming on to in terms of your family, your siblings, would you be able to share some information?
Sure. Yeah. I have two other siblings. My brother and who's younger than me, and then I have a younger sister as well. So both of them are now United States. My brother just
Very
arrived a couple of years ago. My brother
okay.
ran his own company in India. It was mainly an IT services company as well. But then
Okay.
my parents have been here for a long time, so they wanted him to also migrate, which is what he ended up doing. He was
Okay.
pretty happy, but then he was like, "Okay, dad and mom are always after my life, so let me do it." And we are happy
Yeah.
to have him here, right? Of
Yeah.
course, because
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And my sister moved many, many years ago in 2001, and
Okay.
she's been here. She basically went back to school
Hmm.
and got herself a nursing degree. So she
Oh,
is a
very nice.
registered nurse right now. So
Very,
she's doing
very
extremely
nice.
well. She has two kids. My son has two kids. So
Mm,
we're living pretty close to each other. Also,
very
my
good.
dad and mom live independently because you know, we had I was I moved back to India for a few years.
Oh,
And when
okay.
I moved back, my parents were already here. So they didn't move back with
Oh,
us
okay.
because my sister
Hmm.
was here at that time.
Hmm.
So then we purchased a home for them. So they live not far away. Everybody lives within like 6, 7, 8 kilometers from each other,
Oh,
if you will.
very, very good.
Very
Very good.
close. We get together quite often. So that's
Yeah.
my sibling story, if you will.
So
Lucky to have them
basically
here.
all are into back to US. That's very good to hear, Rajnish ji. Very happy. Yeah, that's what we Indians, our culture is families together. We have the what you call subconscious strength. We achieve much magic than families apart. That can sometimes
Yes.
pull us apart. That's very
Right,
good.
right, right. Yeah, it's always
So
nice to have people nearby because you don't
mm,
know when we need each other, right? So you're right. That gives you the strength. Thank you.
good. That thanks to your efforts and your siblings all together achieved so much in terms of education and your career, and then it's very beautiful to see and admiring.
Thank you.
So coming on to a little bit on your bachelor's of engineering, you were in chemical engineering, if I'm correct, or civil engineering. That you.
So I went to Palani as a single chemistry master's degree, but
Oh,
they
okay.
have a dual degree program,
Hmm.
and depending on your first year performance, you can actually pick another degree.
Okay.
I actually had good grades to pick almost anything I wanted, but my dad,
Hmm.
being a civil engineer, we were talking about potentially us being together in a consultancy. So I picked civil engineering, but I did not like it at all. I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
I'm not happy with this degree. So
Hmm.
I wasn't planning to go abroad, but then I prepared for it. I came to America and I changed my degree
To
from
MS,
that to computer
uh,
engineering,
computer
actually. So
engineering. Yeah.
so when people ask me, what have you done as education? And I say chemistry, civil engineering, and computer engineering, they're like, what?
What?
Nothing is related to each other.
Yeah,
So,
that's
uh,
that's
yeah.
true.
And it wasn't
It's
easy to do computer engineering either because I had no background, right? But I had enough
mm,
math. So I was able to convince the
oh, okay.
university I was at to say, listen, I think I have enough math here. You don't have to worry
Mm,
about that part. So they said, okay,
okay.
do some extra courses and we will let you do it.
Look into
And I
okay.
and I did very well in the end. So it didn't matter. So yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. So Syracuse is a very renowned university, and I think you had the math, and probably you did some computer programming side courses, and then you were able to show your credentials or potential. So then, basically, it moved on later to complete the studies.
Yeah, see, computer engineering is a little different than computer science. Science
Okay.
is more of the programming portion, whereas computer engineering is more building blocks on how you build actual chips, for example, computer chips.
Okay,
So I
okay,
had to go
okay.
back and learn about all of the basic building blocks like AND, NAND gates and those kinds of things, and how you actually then do the VLSI, the very large scale integration to build chips. So it was not easy in the beginning, but like
Yes,
I
yes.
said, if I can learn chemistry and I can learn civil engineering, I can also
Then,
learn other things, because
yes,
ultimately it's about new concepts that you need to understand. And I had a lot of help. I mean, I'm not shy asking for help. So I
very good,
just went
very
up
good.
to all my friends and friends I made in university, and I said, guys, I'm going to fail, and you don't want your friend to fail, right? So can you help
Absolutely.
me? And they were very kind.
Absolutely.
The people spent time with me when I had
Yeah.
doubts, and I think I was
Mm.
fortunate to have that help, and I was able to do it.
Yeah, that's what I could see. Being an extrovert, sometimes it helps with getting things and getting help from other people, from community or friends. That's very nice. I
I think not
remember.
just an extrovert, I think it's about failure, right? When you fail and
Okay.
you're going to fail, you should not
The
leave any stone unturned, right? Because
unturned. Okay, okay.
for example, if you know there are there is help available, there are people there,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
shouldn't have the ego within yourself to say, what if I ask help? What would they think of me? Would
Okay,
they
okay.
think I am
Hmm.
stupid or I'm not
Hmm.
smart? I
Hmm.
didn't have any of those issues. I'm like, let them think I'm stupid. I don't really care. I'm just going to
So,
ask for help because I need it, you know? So
okay, okay.
I think that has been my principle all along, is that people stop themselves for asking for help. And I think
Yes.
people miss out on taking the experts and learning from them, basically, if they
Yeah.
have access to them. I think we should not have that. We should just, go ahead and ask for help when we need it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely agree with that. No need to shy away from a learning potential or learning experience. That's the way growth
Right,
happens. That's
right, right. Exactly.
very good to hear that. So, because I had one of my friend, as I was saying about the police community, in it was around past 10th, we had intermediate, and I was in biology, and he was the friend I met, and he was very good at analytical knowledge, analytical skill. So he thinks quite quick and analyzes things and all. So he moved to do some masters in chemistry itself. I remember that. And one funny thing happened, that he doesn't spend too much of effort on learning concepts or thing. He glances it, he gets to know, and then he portrays that in the exam. So when he got a gold medal from Sri Krishnadevara University, Anantapur, in MSc chemistry, and then he did PhD from Albert and all. So basically, his friends were saying that uh, he just comes to tea and tiffin shops here and there in the campus, in the hostels, and then and the friends were already had a lot of preparation on the exam, this and that, notes all done. So he just comes and grabs a tea, and then takes the material from the stand and just goes around like this, and then goes and write the exam. So
Wow.
his friend said he got gold medal just copying and reading my material, so he should share me the gold of the portion of the medal. So
My
very nice.
God, some people can even just get a gold medal by copying and pasting. That is amazing.
No, he just glances and he finishes it. Actually, uh,
Some
his
people are
parents
just
were,
brilliant, I guess.
yeah, yeah. His parents regret that that too in Andhra Pradesh. After 10th, we had bifurcation, biology and mathematics. Very, very, actually, I could feel like that was a very bad thing happened to us when we were kids. The education system should have made it a thing that even Karnataka has both math and biology will be there in the intermediate 10+2. But somehow Andhra made it biology, maths completely separate. Once you go to into biology, you have physics, chemistry only. You cannot touch math at all. You will completely leave the mathematics. That was
How can you
very,
do physics without math? There's
that's
so much math in physics. That's
even
crazy.
chemistry
Chemistry
also.
itself. Yeah, I know. I don't
That's
understand.
absolutely still it is happening. I regret that. So basically, he is having such analytical knowledge. He just left the mathematics and took biology to become a doctor. His parents wanted him to become a doctor. That's it. He said, "Mera sab kharab ho gaya wahan se," and uh, and he doesn't like to read facts. Biology is facts, right? Okay, dal do frog का digestive system diagram डाल दो, parts डाल दो exam पे. He's like, गिरीश ये part को क्या बोलते left में, इसको right को क्या बोलते, मैं भूल गया. Like that. So So he couldn't secure good marks in the medical entrance test, MSET.
Right.
So he got sent 100 marks in chemistry and physics, biology 40 or 60. So he lost the whole career from there. So very
That is sad
regrettable.
to hear. Yes, very sad to hear. Right, right, right.
But he is doing good. He is in US only. He is in Ohio now. He is doing a
Okay.
postdoctoral researcher in one of the chemistry lab on immunology related study. So
Okay.
he's happy. He's happy, but there are a lot of regrets to look into that.
Yes, yes, yes. That
So,
happens. Yeah, yeah.
so that's what your chemistry and changing different fields I brought into that story. So coming back to
Yeah.
yours, so after your education, then so what was your motivation to go into your career progression? And in between, you moved into mainly media sector. That's really I could feel at that time people are either going to banking or health insurance. I have some seniors at that time. They're like, oh, okay. Which project are you in Wipro now? 2 decades back, right? Infosys, I got a project this then. First thing they will ask, is it banking or is it insurance? I was like, why क्यों भैया ये पूछ रहे हो तो नहीं बैंकिंग इंश्योरेंस होगा तो ज्यादा सैलरी देते वो लोग और कुछ प्रोजेक्ट होगा तो सैलरी कम देते पैसा नहीं है उसमें so people were behind the money rather than what qualities they are capable and what they can contribute. But you have been already gone into media at that time itself. Could you please tell us how you were able to pick that live stream of career progression or leadership, to be honest, CEOs and vice president positions?
So I actually, when I graduated, I joined the telecommunications sector because
Yeah,
there was a
okay.
lot of growth in the telecom sector. US was deregulating what
Hmm.
was back then AT&T and Baby
Only
Bells.
two
So
major companies, yeah.
right, right. And I think so much investment was coming into the field that I was able to find a job in that sector. And that's where I
Hmm.
started in telecom. And once you start in telecom, it's about moving signals, if you will, from point A to point B, whether it's audio, which is your phone calls, which was very
Yeah,
lucrative back then because
yeah,
long distance calling was expensive. I remember calling to India and it was $3 a minute and stuff like
yeah,
that. We couldn't
absolutely.
even call for long because we were
Yeah.
students. And as you progress, I got more and more into computer networking. So for a long time, until about 2006 or 7, I stayed in that area. So having started work in almost 91, I stayed
Hmm.
for 15 years into the telecommunications
Okay,
sector.
okay. Hmm.
But then for a personal reason, I had to move back to India. And at
Okay.
the time, I looked at what is India doing well in. So what you
Hmm.
just mentioned, for example, outsourcing was an area which was really established and had taken off. And the reason why you see that whole banking industry focus is because banks tend to make a lot of money. And when they were
Yeah.
outsourcing into India, there
Hmm.
is a higher level of skill required, but they also pay you well because they are
Yeah.
paying people here 60, 70, 80, $90,000, and you could pick up people for a lot less in India, right? So
Yes,
within that,
absolutely.
they were
Hmm.
paying more. When I moved back, I had the networking background, and there was this whole effort at the time to see if media services can also be brought into India. But
Okay.
they didn't know how to manage movement of media itself because
Hmm.
media files are very heavy, if you will, right?
Oh, okay.
So they thought that I could help them
Okay.
create that whole infrastructure. So I became a CTO at that time. I was a chief technology officer of a
Wow.
new startup.
Very nice. Very
And
nice.
over time, though, we just couldn't get enough traction. And since I was in business development and sales for a long time, so after two CEOs that were changed out, the company said, why don't you become the CEO and see if you can
Okay.
do something?
Okay.
And
Great.
I was able to actually grow the team to almost 300 people in India. And that started my journey into the media space because
Hmm.
what happened is that we wanted to bring media services into India. And there were only a small segment of that, which was mostly in what is called localization or subtitling. So, for example, when you are watching Korean content in India or Turkish content in India, if it's not dubbed is where the voice
Yeah,
is
the lang.
replaced with a local actor, you see the
Okay.
subtitles in the bottom, right? Basically.
Mm,
So
mm,
those subtitles have to be built, the translation has to happen. So we started
mm.
doing that work out of India first because that was still,
Wow.
it appeared to be a service that can be outsourced. So that I did. Then I moved to London actually for 3 years, working
Mm,
for a very large localization company from India. And then finally, 2014, because I had moved from US back in 2007, the family had moved 7 years. We were outside. So my wife and kids were like, "Can we just go back home?" So 2014, we moved back to the
okay.
US, and I didn't join a company. I just wanted to take some time off. And then 2015,
Very
I
good.
said, "Let me start my own company and see how it
Ex
goes." And
excellent.
that actually grew into this company that
The
I run right now.
the current company, you are the non-executive CEO for this, if I'm
No,
to
no,
say.
that's Complinity.
That's
That's actually an
um,
investment I've made into
okay.
Indian company that is working on compliance. So
Okay,
India
okay.
has a lot of compliance requirements, right? Did you file this paperwork? Did you file
Yeah,
this, that, and
yeah,
the other?
yeah.
There's a lot of
Mm,
laws, for example. So there's
yes.
a company that the CEO of the company was my company secretary for the India company I was running in India. So he came to
Mm,
me and said that this is a good area. So I actually made an investment, and I'm after the founders, I'm the largest investor in the company right
very
now.
good.
So that's
Mm.
where I'm non-executive director. But my own company is Finesse Services.
Oh,
It's
Finnish
based out
services.
of
Okay.
based out of Atlanta, Georgia. We have
Mm.
uh, Discovery Networks, which is Warner Brothers
Wow.
Discovery. We supply services which eventually go to Disney, Netflix, Amazon
Very good.
Prime. So
Mm.
yeah, Apple TV. So yeah, we do a lot of work for all of these companies.
Yeah, that's what the question I was linking into on OTTs later. It's okay. We will come back onto that.
It's OTT. Yeah, exactly.
So before coming back into that, so just so you mentioned you have a son, if I may, if you have you have two sons, if I'm correct.
No, no, no.
You
I have three children. I have
three
two older
children,
daughters and one boy. Yeah,
one boy. Okay, good, good. They
yeah.
are all same nearby or settled in US.
So yeah, they're all in the US. My older daughter is in Washington D.C. She's doing a fellowship, and she's done her doctor of clinical
Oh,
psychology.
very
So
nice.
she's basically a psychologist in case you have any issues that you want to talk to
Mm,
somebody, you need therapy.
mm, yeah.
My middle one is a teacher.
Okay.
So she loves kids, and she's working with young children right now. My son
Okay.
is still in high school, actually. He's a
Oh,
senior,
nice.
so he hasn't
Mm.
graduated yet. He'll be
Yeah,
hopefully going to college next year.
so good, good. Your daughter and teacher, she is into which subject?
So she's teaching young kids, right? Which is very young
Oh,
children. So she
so
takes
she
care of the
covers
entire
major,
curriculum. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all
Yeah, yeah,
curricular
because
aspect.
in young kids, you don't have a curriculum, right?
Yeah,
You're just
curriculum.
teaching basic
It's just
skills,
like,
you know, how to read, write, and
okay, very nice.
count numbers and things like that.
Okay, okay, got it.
Yeah, she just loves to be with younger kids, and they love her.
Mm.
So, you know, I don't know when she'll graduate to the next set of kids or something, but for now, she's having a good time.
No, actually, I appreciate your what do you call freedom you have given to that kind of a line of education or something. That sometimes as kids, my parents were business people, and I could say that they have given me enough freedom to excel in myself in education. And I think that was my father. He carried over his father's legacy of business, and then he struggled a lot. As you said, middle class family, business will not be on the same way. And when he see that I'm excelling in education, I was blessed to have him as father, that he said, you are not coming back to business at all. Okay, I will give my best, so you move on to your education, whatever you want to. So that was a sacrifice, or I can say some foresight he had. I'm glad that I was able to finish my BSc in life science, biology, MSc biotechnology. I did my education abroad. I had in Penn State University. I was there for a few years in Pennsylvania. I was a postdoctoral fellow there. And I was in Marie Curie Institute Curie Paris also as a researcher. It was I feel always indebted to my parents for that freedom they have given. That's very helpful. Yeah. Thanks for that.
It's interesting you say that actually, because in the US, we are seeing, at least for example, there is this thing called tiger moms, which are
Ah,
mostly
yeah.
Asian mothers, and they're very, very focused on their children. So they
Okay.
monitor everything. There's a lot of homeschooling
Oh.
going on because moms
Mm,
don't want their kids to go to school at all. They're worried that they will do other things that they don't want them to do.
mm,
Whereas I look back and I go, I was so blessed to
mm.
have my dad never
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
bother. He was like, you do what you want to do. And I just gravitated to engineering because my dad was a civil engineer, right? So
Yes.
that's a different discussion altogether. But my mom wanted me to be a doctor.
Yeah.
He didn't want me to be anything, I guess. He said,
Anything.
you
Yeah.
do whatever you want.
You do
Mom
what
wants you to be a doctor, you become a doctor if you want.
doctor.
I just wasn't interested in medicine because I
Mm.
don't like the blood, like
Yeah. Yeah.
if I see blood, I almost faint type of a thing,
Faint.
right? So I'm not.
So how do I operate? How do I
Yeah, so
operate?
I wasn't going to be a doctor ever, so I just thought,
Mm.
okay, engineering it is for me, and I was lucky to get into Palani. But it's, I think,
Yeah.
when you are left alone and you have passion towards something, you have your own drive to be successful, right?
Yes.
So I,
Yes.
like, my son wants to do film. He wants to be
Yeah.
a
Okay.
film writer, director,
Okay.
and most of the people around us, their kids are going to this school, that school,
Ah,
this
that
engineering, that engineering, this law school,
Ivy
and
League.
and I'm like, fine,
Fine.
it's his life, I mean, he's at
Yeah.
least going to be motivated. He only thinks about films basically right now, how to
Very
make
good.
it, makes his notes all the time, what interests him.
Mm,
So he's passionate, right? I mean, he's
mm,
basically, without me telling him, writing things
mm.
up because he wants to do that. I think that's just the best way to do it. Go and
No,
support them as much as you can.
absolutely, absolutely. Very glad to hear that. Yeah, I just like to bring 2 points. Like one, you said tiger moms. I want to bring one story into that, and you said the freedom. so, so this was in Canada when I was doing my masters in biology by research in McMaster, Ontario, Hamilton. And we had the Indian kids. I was in a Indian scientist lab. I joined as a master's cum PhD student, and we used to get some immigrant family kids, Indians coming to
Yeah,
Gupta ji, mere ko research experience chahiye kuch because I want to apply for medical programs, so this and that. So kids used to come to our lab and we used to teach them experiments and all this. So I used to go and stay in friends there. We used to nearby the house, we used to stay near the college. So we go for lunch, go to their houses and cook together and eat. So if I remember his name, Pratik Goyal, I think he was a undergrad biology, and that's what he was saying. Like suddenly we had something this and that, and they used to love the Scrubs, the this kind of medical oriented
sure.
show,
Yeah,
Scrubs.
it's a funny show.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
he was a medico and nurse. A lot of good thing happens, humor and medicine. So they used to love it. And then I was like, okay, why are you watching this? What do you want to become? This and that. So rather than he saying what I want to become, you are saying my doctor nahi bana to mera papa maar dega mere ko. That he
My
just said
God.
that. My
Yeah,
doctor nahi banunga to mera papa मेरे घर से निकाल देगा. I was like,
yeah, yeah.
I was in
That is
India.
sad.
My father never said anything to me. He is in Canada and getting one of the finest education, and he's saying that ये मुझे ये बनना है नहीं तो मेरा पापा गुस्सा हो जाएगा. That was like,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
on, come on. You-
No, but I
so
think kids feel that pressure, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
problem, basically. I think kids are forced in some
yes.
ways
Peer
to
pressure
do
is
not
there.
what they want, but what their
Mm,
parents want. And that
mm.
is okay in some
In
cases. See,
some
the thing is,
sense.
if the kid is compliant, if the child
Mm.
is like, okay, I don't know what I want to do, but my parents are saying this, I'm okay with
Okay.
that, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
fine. But if the kid is passionate about something
Yeah, you should
and they
not
have a
force.
vision for themselves,
Mm,
let them do
mm.
what they want in that case,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's
absolutely.
the way I look at it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Coming on to the same point I was speaking, the other second point was like, as you said, your son is more into movies and these scripts and all, because one thing I observed from Indian movies is that, so there is no what do you call um, the if you are passionate in Indian film industry and any film industry, if you are creative, there are no bounds. You can do magic. How? Because
Hmm.
there is so much creativity in that, and if parents are looking into money, Dr. Banjam, acha paisa aa jayega to, if you are forcing someone to stop their dream, if they are into this career of film industry, they can become a successful director like famous Hollywood directors. Then there is no thing of talk about money. So that's what
Yeah.
you need to encourage creativity in this kind of line of job. They can really do magic in this
The
fields.
problem is that the reason our parents push us is because if you spend the time going to college and getting skills, like if I
Mm,
become a computer engineer or somebody becomes a
mm,
doctor, somebody becomes a lawyer, that barrier to entry is very high. Not many people get
mm.
there, right? So
Yeah,
those
yeah.
skills then may not be paid out at millions of dollars, but it will be paid out at a reasonable level to make a
Yes,
living. And that's what
living.
parents want you to do. When
Have
you
a
look at
safe and
creative services,
mm,
anybody with a camera these days is
yeah,
a
yeah.
writer, director, producer. So then the barrier of entry is very low. And
Oh,
what
yeah.
happens is that most people are actually very bad at what they do in that
Mm,
space. You know what I mean?
mm.
So to
Yeah, yeah.
break through and become successful, it's a very difficult field to be successful. But
Understood,
once you become
understood.
successful and you get the attention, is the limit.
Then sky is the limit. Yeah.
So that's the thing. The parents worry, right? Because ultimately you're not
Mm,
going to live forever. We're going to
mm.
pass along at some point of time. And when that happens, if you are like, oh, my kid,
Oh,
he's
it's
not doing anything,
struggling.
then you worry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
true, true. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's very, very nice to see that. Absolutely, that's what like uh, I uh, my uncle, my father's brother was also same as you are saying that. So my cousin brother, after graduating from BTech, he could not get a job. So they were forcing or they were trying to create some kind of tensive situation in the house. I was like, I went and then I spoke to my uncle and aunt like, stop करो ये सब क्या हो जाएगा पढ़ाई कर रहा है डिग्री आ गया सर्टिफिकेट आ गया ये एक साल और 6 month कुछ कोर्स हो जाएगा तो हो जाएगा बट they were like one point my uncle said was like ओ कंपटीशन आए रे अभी तो ये कितना बच्चे आ रहा है इंजीनियरिंग तो इतना पढ़ाई कर दिया इसने अभी जॉब नहीं लिया तो नेक्स्ट साल और लैक्स एंड लैक्स पीपल आर कमिंग इनटू मार्केट तो कैसे compete करेगा सो देवर पॉइंट इज आल्सो वैलिड but they have to understand that they should not pressure him in a way that he lose his potential, he lose his confidence. So but later somehow they listened and he's doing good now, he's a manager in software company. So that's, as being a parent, yes, they worry, that's what they want to see the kid to be happy. That's nice to hear.
Successful, not happy.
ah su-
They want
Successful and
themselves to
rich.
be happy that their kid is successful.
Successful and rich, both they need successful and rich. That's
Yeah, I mean, look, if you have children, you would want them to do better than yourself, right? That's
yeah,
just the
yeah.
way we desire and dream about our children.
Mm,
So I think it's not totally unfair to blame. It's
yeah,
not totally fair to blame the parents as well, because parents have
yeah.
the best interest of the children in mind, but
Mm,
sometimes they can go overboard, if you will,
overboard.
right? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yes,
But
I have a 10-year-old daughter, so she's doing good, but I just want to give her as much as freedom what she want to choose, and she does good paintings and arts creatively, and she's good, studies well, sports also good, very good. So let it be. So
very balanced. That's
yeah,
lovely.
so that's very good to hear, Rajnish ji. And then coming back into, so you're in US, but this is night here, that's morning there for you, but are you a night owl or a day person?
Um, I have, by nature of my work, become more of a night owl because my team
Okay,
is so my company is spread into
different
Philippines,
continents. Mm,
Indonesia, Thailand, India.
okay.
So I have to stay awake till late. I have to get up early also because, of course, I
Mm,
have to sleep as well. But their
yeah.
work time is when I'm sleeping. If I actually sleep at the
Yes,
right
yes.
time, then I would never talk to
Mm.
anybody, right?
Yeah,
So by
absolutely.
nature, I sleep less. But then it's like my dad, when I was growing up, though he worked for the government,
Mm.
armed services, but he would always come home during like his around two
Uh,
o'clock in the afternoon, because in
okay.
India, people eat a little bit late also their lunch.
Yeah,
So he would
lunch break.
eat lunch and then he would always take this 20-30 minute nap before he left. And
Okay,
I never
okay.
did that. And
Okay.
because of my change in work now,
Uh,
I also take a nap and I
Started
can't do
taking that.
without it, basically. And
Yeah,
it's just so refreshing. I sleep for half an hour, 40 minutes,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
it just gives me the second wind. So that's the way to cope with my staying awake till later. Like
Staying
last
up.
night, I came back and then I still was working. So as I told you, I didn't even sleep till almost 2 in the morning, and
Mm.
still had to wake up at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Do I wake up
Yeah,
earlier? So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it changes also, right? As you go along, when you're young, you have so much energy that you can just
Yes,
keep
yes.
going.
True, true. Yeah,
But
now
now
now the body itself tells बस करो अभी थोड़ा nap
I
ले
know,
लो
हो गया, बहुत हो गया.
break ले लो होगी. So
I
actually
mean, I
I
get,
work. Yeah, please go ahead.
no, no, man.
So I work for a clinical research company in India. It's based in US. So my client is also US. I need to speak with several of these safety scientists and all. So I took the same approach what you are speaking. I will take a nap 2 to 3 something. That's it. Then my clock works well in the night, and I wake up around. I finish around 2 o'clock. Then 7:30 to drop my daughter. It is kind of magic happens. If I don't have that nap, gone. The day is gone. I will be stressed. I will not be doing the activities as such. So it's
Yeah,
good to
yeah,
see.
yeah. No, I think, uh,
Mm, that's good. That's good. Coming on to books, do you read books? And I could see that several books on your background. So do you have specific categories of books? Would you like to prefer to read?
so I honestly haven't had time to read books lately because
Mm,
when you're running a company and you're close
yeah.
to 100 people working everywhere, it's very hard to find time because I mean I barely sleep 5-6 hours a day, and then
Mm,
also what I haven't told you is that my older daughter is disabled and in a wheelchair, so she actually
oh,
is
okay.
with her mother in Washington D.C., where she's doing her fellowship right now for her clinical psychology program. So the other
Okay.
two kids are with me. So I have other responsibilities, which is
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
also the cook at home, and so I just have very little time to read. And it's been like this since 2019 because that's when my daughter moved to DC to get her degree. I'm sure it'll
Okay.
change in the future, and I'll have more capability. I have a house in which I have a library wall, and if I were to turn around and show you, it's just full of books
Yeah.
that I want to read and I've
Wow.
collected.
Read.
Some I have, but
Okay.
most I haven't. So I like to read them
Mm.
at some point in time.
Yes,
But
absolutely. Good, good.
I would say that in terms of my interest, in terms of reading,
Mm.
obviously, I read a lot of fiction. I love
Okay.
mysteries and things like that. But once you get into a work environment and that too you want to
Mm.
progress, then you want to read about people and their
Yeah,
successes
yeah.
and what they did and
Success.
things like that. So
Mm.
a lot of
Mm.
that shifted to in sales strategies that you need to actually
Mm.
employ
Lot of
to go against competition and win, for example.
mm.
Or
Mm.
when I started running my own company, what do we need to do to make it a successful company? So a lot of my lately the reading has all been related to things
Very
like
good.
that.
Very
But
good.
I want to
Very good.
diversify. I want to read more about, like
Of
for example, I have,
personal
yeah,
fiction.
exactly. I have Obama's book that I haven't read yet. I have it, but I haven't read it. So
Very.
those are the kinds of books I want to read about people. See, it's all about shifting things, right? I mean,
Yes,
you go from
yes.
fiction to what makes you better as you work in an
Yeah.
office to how you
Mm.
then become a better manager and better CEO, for example.
Yes,
And I want
yes.
to read about what has made other people great. What is it that
Mm.
they did that made it's just not something I've been able to do. Not that I haven't read clips of it or I haven't seen things, because there's a lot of
Okay, okay.
TikTok stuff that shows up
Yes.
or Instagram reels or something like that, right? But reading
Absolutely.
the whole thing is what I'm missing, and I
Mm.
like to, yeah.
So absolutely, that brings me to one or two follow-up questions. But before that, you brought up being you cook for your kids. So let's talk about cuisines. Which one is your favorite?
So cuisine wise, I am quite an experimentation guy, right? I mean, in the sense
Okay,
that I told you I
cooking.
cook, and I always I'm not a I'm not just a cook. I want to
Okay,
cook well. So I'm
okay.
into following recipes and things like that. But in terms of cooking, I actually cook Mexican, Chinese, Thai, Italian, Indian foods, right? So in our
Hmm.
household, I'm always moving from
Okay.
one cuisine to another. I would say if I had to put a finger on it, I would say Thai food is probably my most
Yeah,
favorite.
very good.
Absolutely,
Uh,
so
that's I remember in Penn State, if I'm saying correct, pad thai, something peanut kind of chicken mix. Pad thai something. There was specific dish with chicken and peanuts that was very famous in Penn State. We used to have that as students like that. So that's good to hear. Good to hear about that. So other than weekends, how do you spend the weekends?
weekends wise, my so one of the things I like a lot, and I've done overall, because I grew up in the mountains in India. I was in Pithoragarh,
Hmm.
which is a mountainous
Hmm.
area. So I used to do a lot of hiking and things like that.
Hiking.
Um, uh, if I can find friends, I would go hike because we live in a not a flat
Yes,
area. We are
but
where the Appalachian Mountains
uh,
are ending. So
yes.
there's still, if you go north, a lot of areas we can hike up.
Hmm.
But I have a big family here because my wife uh, grandfather was the first four couples that moved to Atlanta in 1967 after the
Wow,
immigration rules were relaxed.
very nice, very
So,
nice.
in fact,
Kind of
I have a
pioneers. Hmm.
pioneers, right? So there is a magazine
Hmm.
which is published here called Khabar, and they were
Very good.
all pictured, all four couples on the front page of the cover page
Hmm.
of the thing.
Hmm.
But because of that, a lot of people over, you can imagine 1967 to now, that's almost 60 years. So there's a
60 years.
lot of family here from my wife's side.
Hmm.
They're almost,
Very good.
with my dad now, my sister, my brother, we're
Hmm.
looking at close to 125, 150 people just in the family alone, because kids and their
Absolutely.
kids and all this other stuff. So there's
It's
always
like
something going on, right? Somebody's
absolutely
birthday, we are meeting together, Father's Day, Mother's Day.
very
So
good.
the weekends get busy actually with just family involvement
Yeah,
sometimes, you know.
I
So
can imagine. I can
uh,
imagine that.
yeah, yeah. So we spend a
Very
lot of
good.
time doing that. We have plenty of
Hmm.
friends that I've made over time. So we are also getting
Hmm.
together with friends and things like that. I am trying to get into pickleball. We did play a little bit,
Okay.
but then it kind of
Hmm.
stopped because a little bit travel came up during summertime. But
Hmm.
I would love to do that more frequently, for example, on the weekends or even on weekdays in the evening. So I get a little bit of exercise, for example,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of thing.
true,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
That's very good to hear. Absolutely amazing, amazing. The historical aspects of the family of your spouse, and that's what very nice to hear. So, just coming back into a little bit, you were saying you're reading some specific kind of books that brought me into attention that. So, one thing. I was in academia before moving into industry recently, 3 to 4 years back. So I could feel that I was speaking with my friends who were already in industry here and there. I was like, okay, I was teaching बच्चों को पढ़ाई कर रहा था, research कर रहा था, my faculty को advice दे रहा था. तो COVID के बाद कुछ something changed, so I had to really shift some gears or take some opportunity where I can work from home. Then I wanted to come back into this. So I was checking with my friends how to succeed in industry, what will be there, what
Mhm.
will be this, and what are the skill set I can I survive here or not, or something like that. So what you said was correctly linking into that. So as a you're working as a person at the lower hierarchy in industry and middle level and to the top level, and I realized that the perspective need to change first, because if you don't change the perspective, you will be in a close cocoon and you will be working only that kind of mindset. For example, if a manager controls 10 people or 5 people, and this kind of client, one or two clients, to control 10 people overall in his team, his thought process will be to that limitation only, right? But if same manager like you have been a manager in the middle of your career and moved into CEO, when you are CEO, 100, it's not all employees are under you and all clients are with you. And what I observed in industry is that things always will go bad. It's not like you may expect this going in this way. Suddenly a problem comes. Suddenly something unexpected comes. So my friend, a very senior bioinformatician, he's in US also, as a well-established research personnel. He said that गिरीश आपको प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग स्किल्स चाहिए इंडस्ट्री में सर्वाइव करना है तो problem solving skills, that is the only thing will make you break or make in industry. So I was like, oh okay, theek hai, to problem solving skill. I was trying to read some books on that or something, but still a bookish knowledge is different. But being an experienced guy, you have been gone through several ladders, so would you please emphasize a little bit on this skill, how it was helped you in your industry or in your company itself, and what is the importance of it, how you can gain potential into this?
So I think when you think about change of roles and the way, so one thing is not being just a CEO, but an owner CEO.
Okay,
big difference between the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because if you're working for a large firm and it's an established firm, you have a line of sight to the revenue and collections that is steady. So you worry less about making payments. Whereas an owner, you are ultimately responsible for making your salary payments as well.
Yes.
So I tell people that as an owner, I sleep with one eye open because I really literally am never off the actual, my work is always omnipresent, is always with me. Like on the weekends, I'll get some client requests and I don't expect my team to do it, but I respond. And I was in LA, I was sitting and talking to an ex-client who has become a good friend. So actually he said, why don't you come over and stay with me? In fact, this is how close I am with that person. And I was sitting in their breakfast table and the client wrote and I was working and I said, look, literally, I had a $500 order right now for spending 10 minutes, right? So you have to keep going like that. So what happens is that you're generally a CEO role is, even if you think about, oh, I've got a CTO, I've got a sales manager, I have a business development, I have operations, I've got support. Ultimately, everything goes to you. So you're finally responsible for everything, right? Everything. So your mindset has to shift. You cannot ever think that, oh, I've just delegated it and it's fine. Because if something doesn't work out, literally you're the one where the buck stops. So your skill set changes, your mindset changes, the way you look at things changes. And that's how I was telling you about books. And there's a book called Good to Great. Okay. I don't know whether you've ever seen it. I have it sitting right in front of me and my. So one of the things that guy talks about, which is very critical for success, is basically that, and his words are, who do you have on the bus? Okay. And what it means is you're on a journey to go somewhere. And if you have the right people on the bus, then you'll get there. Yes. Okay. Yes. So get the right people on the bus. So your bus is all the people who report to you. And I have been the person who stays very loyal to the people who work with me. Yes. But then I've also realized sometimes you have to make tough decisions that, okay, I tried, it's not working, we got to make a change because the person is just not the right person on the bus. So in terms of your skill development, it's so much development that happens in that role. And last thing I would say is starting my own company is a step that I take and I become the CEO, right? Easy. Yeah. I can be a CEO of nothing, by the way. I have a company where I have no revenue. I can create a company for $30 a year in America. Doesn't mean anything, right? Yes, yes. So doesn't matter whether you're an AVP and you're going to a VP role in operations, or you are a business development and you're going to the next level, or you are at a level already to a point you're becoming a CEO, I've always told people that when you look at your role and you want to go here, spend some time understanding what that role requires
Yes,
and
absolutely.
start doing those things already. So when your
Yes.
manager looks at you and they say, who do we pick for that role? Oh, this guy is already doing everything that we want him
Doing
to do. It
everything.
makes it easy for them, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
in my case, I was a CEO already, and starting my
Mm,
own company, I had gotten to the skills that I needed. Because
mm.
remember, I said that we had two CEOs that were let go and fired.
Yes,
And
then
then they
you
came to
have
me and said, why don't you become a CEO? Because I was already doing a lot of those things that
lot
those
of
other
stuff.
guys weren't doing. So they said,
Mm,
you do it, otherwise I would have never gotten the role in the first place.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's a very tricky situation. A lot of people don't understand that to get to the
Mm,
next level, you have to put in a lot of effort and you
the
have to
effort.
do it
Mm,
yourself. You have to be self motivated. You have to understand and do some research to understand what that role is about because it changes from company to company too.
yes,
So you literally
absolutely.
have to ask questions, then start to
Mm,
do those things so it becomes easy. That's how you build your skills. If you're really going to stay where you are and do, I have friends who decided I'm not going to move to a different role because it requires me to go
comf
from my office A to office
ah,
B, which will require 20 miles of driving. I'm not
yeah,
doing it because I don't want to sit in
yeah,
traffic for 40 minutes. They
yes,
never
yes.
grew that role, right?
Mm,
So it's your decisions. It's your
mm,
understanding that nothing comes for free. The more you
mm,
invest in yourself and get
that's
better, the companies recognize it and they will promote within and themselves. Otherwise, they'll
mm,
find someone else who is from outside, who has shown that they have gathered the skills. They'll even pay them more
yeah,
because
yeah.
they know it's a ready-made replacement, right? Okay, here's somebody and we slot him in and we get all
Okay,
the skills. So that's
absolutely,
how I look
absolutely.
at skill development. That's how I look at how we get there.
Absolutely. Very valuable inputs. Basically saying that come out of your comfort zone, put yourself into other shoes and see how they are doing. And then you will realize that what is your potential strength and weaknesses. Absolutely, Rajnish ji. Very good to hear. So we
Great,
are
great.
almost on the clock, but I don't think so. I have left anything. But would you play, if I may ask, do you play golf?
Very interesting. Actually, I used to play, and again, golf is what? Going out and playing for several hours, right? So again,
Yeah.
time is an issue. And I was
Yes,
thinking that, maybe in the next year or two, I want to pick
yes,
it up because
yes.
I like the sport. It's a very frustrating sport, because it's like
Mm.
to get the ball going in the right direction is a
And
challenge.
then go and find it again, walk around. It's like cricket is good enough. Our cricket is very good. So you are in a circle and you are batting means you are in the same position for almost 50 overs.
But
So
but what is nice about golf is you're with nature, right? Because it's built
yeah,
over a lot of land. So
lot
you
of
walk
land
around, and I think it's just to
mm,
get away from it all. You
from the
playing a sport, it's not very physical. Yeah, you're walking, but it's
yeah,
not like
yeah.
your heart rate goes up or anything
Yes,
like that.
yes. True,
But at
true.
least it brings a stress level down, right? Because you're in
Mm,
nature, walking around. Maybe you have some
mm.
friends with you. You grab a
Yeah,
beer with
a
them or
kind of
something.
yeah,
It's a great.
like-minded people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly. So I would like to
that's
play.
yeah, very good to hear, Rajnish ji. Absolutely, I'm very happy about the show today and how we spoke and interacted.
Thank
टाइटल
you.
की तरह हम और आप ये गुफ्तगू बढ़िया हुआ था. जिना फैमिली की तरफ से नमस्कार. We wish you a very warm day ahead. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. We will meet again soon sometime and we'll get to know.
Absolutely, we will.
I
Thank you.
will I
Take
will
care.
wait for Rajiv Bhaiya's instructions. भैया बोलेगा तो मिल जाएंगे वापस. चलो, okay? Have a nice day.
Definitely.
Bye.
Always pleasure to talk to you. Bye.